Hello and welcome to the Tabletop Team Podcast. I'm your host, Joe, and with me this week is one of my normal hosts. Please introduce yourself.
This is Don Julian coming at you live alone in Ohio. It's just me this time.
Sadly, due to life circumstances, Mike had to bow out of the podcast. We hope he can return when things get easy, but we don't know. But for now, we got the next best thing. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Jason, or So and Jay, and I've been editing the podcast for the last few times, and I've been friends with Joe for a long time, and I like board games.
Yeah, you were on the Clue D&D episode, and
I was
the original 3-part interview series I did, which I like and don't want to get rid of, even though it has nothing to do with how the show goes now.
I've been on 2 podcasts.
You should totally interview more people.
Today we are reviewing Zombicide, Black Plague.
I can't believe it took us this long to play this game and how much fun it was. I still can't believe that it's this many episodes in. We've talked about it. We've had it on the show. Here it finally is. I'm excited.
Yes, we've talked about Zombicide on the show quite a bit. It's a very fun game. It's kind of been a good cornerstone in my tabletop background. So we're going to break down everything, and then we will go into our stories of the things we played, our events, our thoughts, feelings, reviews, and all that. So first off, Zombicide is a long-running series. They have multiple editions. The original edition is like in a modern setting. Then they came out with Black Plague, which is a fantasy medieval setting. They have Invaders, which is a space setting. They're coming out with a Western setting. There's so many expansions. There's so many add-ons. There's a lot of Kickstarter exclusives. But we're going to focus primarily on the main Black Plague box. So it's a very large box. I can't really show you on audio format. But unlike previous reviews, it takes up a lot of space. So you need to realize that when you are purchasing this. Also, it is $100. It's a very steep price point for what can be a very intimidating game to get into because it is a lot of pieces. However, that is kind of the other hand of it, of why it's like good, because of how many pieces, like the details on the miniatures are very good.
I had no idea about the price of this game. So going into it blind, where it was completely free for me, we played it on Tabletop Simulator where, Jason and Joe both set up the game and maneuvered all the pieces. I got to be in there as a spectator and just kind of play. This game was incredible, but seeing how much work goes into the setup and the price point, this is making me a bit more conflicted. It changes my opinion on the whole game as a total, and I'd like to get into that more.
The game is very large because it's got a lot of pieces, as Joe mentioned. The way that the game board is made is different every time. They have specific scenarios that you put out and you play, but the game board is made up of smaller pieces, and you assemble them into one big map that you play. And for that, it kind of reminded me of like Settlers of Catan. But I think this has more pieces than that. While the game pieces for the map are bigger, there's so many other smaller things that get put on the board. Not only player tokens, zombie tokens, objective tokens, doors, vaults, and potentially necromancer spawns, all sorts of little individual pieces that get put on the board. And not to mention there's, I think, 3 or 4 different piles of cards. There's like loot cards, there's a zombie spawn card pile, legendary items that you find in the vaults card pile. There's a lot of stuff to keep track of.
So we're going to break down what a basic game of Zombicide Black Plague will look like to you all, so you have a basic understanding of the rules and the playstyle, and then, like I said, we can talk about our personal experiences. As that guy mentioned...
Quick side note. Whenever Joe says that guy, he's referring to me, Jason. That guy is my nickname in our friend group, and it's very foreign for Joe to ever call me Jason.
You set up the board with the tiles, doors, objectives, spawn points, which are where the zombies come from, and you pick your survivors. The base box only comes with 6 survivors. If you back on Kickstarter, pretty much any of their Kickstarter campaigns, you usually get a plethora of bonus figures. They have a bunch of expansions that they sell, and while I think you can cross editions in general, like there's Green Horde, which is like the sequel to Black Plague, those characters mix well with the setting. But if I went to the invaders, which are like the space characters, I don't think they would mix as well. That's just an assumption. So you pick your characters, and it goes in turns. There's a minimum of 6 character tokens on the board. In this case, we'll use the 3 of us as an example. We each play 2 characters. It would go with my character A, and then character B, Julian's character A, Julian's character B, that guy's character A, that guy's character B, and then the zombies go. And then when we get back around to the next player's turn, it doesn't start with my character A. It goes to my character B. And I'm bringing this up just because it's an important part of the strategy. You need to realize that the turn orders are important. You have to plan accordingly with your team on how to get through this. That is an important aspect, which we haven't really said yet, is this is a cooperative board game. This is everyone who's playing is working together to accomplish a goal. Now, most of the goals are collect all the objectives on the board or find a specific objective, which are noted by red X's, some with a blue or green X on the other side. And then you either need to kill a certain number of zombies or escape the board. That's usually the gist of most of the missions.
It should be noted, of course, since this is a zombie apocalypse game, that's basically what you are fighting the whole time, is making sure that you cull the herd enough that you're not going to get overrun, but you're not going to be able to kill all the zombies. There are too many spawn points, and you might roll some really good turns and have some good combat and kill 5 or 6 zombies on one turn, but then they spawn again at 3 or 4 or 5 locations. Your entire point is to complete your objectives and get out of there. You're not a hero, you're a survivor, and you need to avoid the horde.
Yeah, this game definitely is a true cooperative game, because I think one of the first times we were playing, I was like, oh, this move I take will benefit my character, but will harm the rest of the party. And there is no point in the game where your character alone is more important than the group. And there's even times where it'd be like, hey, I have this item, who can use it? Or your character uses daggers better or can use a fireball, like, I'm going to give you this. So you're constantly trying to pay attention to what everyone else is doing, which makes it a lot more fun, because on their turns, it almost impacts you in a positive or negative light. And you're like, okay, what's happening now?
Also, you can metagame everything, and it's not against the rules.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's exactly what happened with me. You guys were like, hey, look, if you don't kill that zombie, it's coming in here and attacking us. And I'm like, oh, right, because in real life, if I had the opportunity to save you guys, I would. I hope I would. But to progress us further into life.
You better save me.
I know, right? So another thing that was happening in it, there is this like slow buildup of where there's only like a couple zombies. It does not take very many rounds to where there's like 15 plus zombies on the board, and it's like, okay, if there's 6 of us and we each get 1 turn to kill, we can't even, with all of our turns combined, get rid of all the zombies, and then they're gonna respawn with even more. It does build really quickly, and you have to be paying attention on your turn to maybe not take something that's lucrative for your character and more about removing some zombies from the actual board.
And that's the horde aspect that I was trying to get at. It's another game mechanic that we haven't mentioned yet is leveling up your characters. You all start at the same level. I think they have blue, then yellow, then orange, and then finally red, depending on how much XP you get. And you'll get XP from killing zombies, you'll get XP from completing objectives, different amounts for different things that you complete. And at the end of the player turn, when the zombie spawn turn comes up, if everybody's still in blue, it'll spawn whatever is blue on the zombie spawn card, which is usually simple things and less zombies. As soon as one player gets to yellow, which I think is like 8 XP, it'll move to yellow and it'll get a little bit harder. And then as soon as you get to orange, again, only one player has to get there. Everything's going to spawn in at the orange level, and it's going to spawn more zombies, tougher zombies, and it gets to the point where you have to decide who do you want to get more XP, because sometimes some of your dudes are really good at killing zombies and getting XP that way, and sometimes some of the characters are just utility characters and they still only have 3 or 4 XP, and they could be killed really easily. That's more of you got to think the whole big picture and work as a team.
So we're not going to break down all the abilities. There's way too many. But essentially, every character has the same kind of build out. You have a blue ability that you start with, and that's kind of honestly what most of us choose our characters on, is that ability, because that's what you're going to be using the most. Then once you get to yellow, you get another action. Now, every character starts off with 3 actions. You can use that to move 1 square, make 1 attack, attempt to open a door, loot a room, or take an objective. When you open a door, or you first enter a doorway to see open rooms, you draw spawn cards to represent the zombies that are milling about inside the buildings. There's also tokens around the board for zombies coming into that part of the town or city that you're supposed to be in. As you level up, you get these more and more abilities, and then you get to orange, you get to choose one of 2 abilities, which is technically more of their specialty. It's, more towards the range, the spell, or the melee. And then finally, at the final tier, the red level, you have a choice of 3, usually very, very good options, but you can only pick one, of course.
And it would be rare that you could even get up there during one game. If one person hits red level, that might happen, but I don't remember the last time that we've hit red level in a game because we're trying to complete the objective and not die, unless one of the objectives is to get to red level.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is there's one objective.
I knew you were going to say that.
There's one where the objective is to get to red level, but I think for specifically you and me, when we were playing the game, that was our final objective, so we got there and just the game ended. So it's you don't even get to use that fun ability.
From what we were playing, getting to red level seems incredibly difficult. But for one player to get there quickly, I feel like the other characters would have to stay at lower levels, which would make their gaming significantly harder because they don't have very many skills, because the other person is just killing all the zombies, getting all the objectives. Because I think getting to red level, it's 47 points or something, or 50.
43.
It's something. Oh, 43.
It's
so you got to kill
big number.
Yeah, so you got to kill, probably about 30 zombies, which would take you into at least the first 5 rounds, and then capture the 2 tokens, which is another 10 points, and you're close. And that's just when the game starts picking up zombie after zombie.
Something that should be noted is that some characters don't really pop off until you get to yellow level or orange level. Like, for example, Troy. I think we played 2 games together, Julian, you and I, all together. And I was playing Troy the first time, and I believe you played him the second time, did you not?
Which one was his ability?
He's the one who can free reload crossbows.
I did use him.
It's basically Bruce Campbell.
I think I played him the first game. Yeah,
Literally Ash Williams from Army of Darkness.
I didn't use his ability that well, though.
Yeah, the first time when I was playing Troy, we played with Mike. That's what I was thinking about. So when you first played, you played as Troy, and you were like, "Man, this guy sucks." And then I remember you mentioning at the end of the game, you said, "Oh, wait a second, this is actually really cool."
Right?
You have to build up there. You have to slog through the lower levels, and then once you get there, he's a zombie killing machine.
Yeah, he was meant for, because I was popping them off so quickly, because there was a long corridor where there was a bunch of zombies and they couldn't even get close to me because I could just pop 1 and 2 off at a time.
Yep.
I think and I might be confusing it with another game we played, but I feel like I had rerolls too.
No, you did have rerolls. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I thought that I could reroll some of my, and that's why he was so good and effective, because not only can he take ranged attacks, but he can retake ones that fail, or at least are poor.
Yes.
Another aspect of the game is the zombie types. In the base game, there are essentially 4 zombie types. There are your standard walkers. They die in 1 hit. They only get 1 action per turn, so they can either move or attack, not both. Then there's the slightly more deadly runners. Similar in damage threshold, it only takes 1 damage, and that's it. But they get 2 actions, so they can either move 2 spaces, or they can attack twice, or they can move and attack, whatever floats their boat. Then there are the slightly tougher, fatty zombies. Now, these guys only get 1 action, but they take 2 damage. Now, damage is kind of different in Zombicide than it is most games. If you have a sword that does 1 damage, you can't attack the fatty twice to kill it. You have to have, like, the hammer that does 2 damage to kill it. And then there are the Abominations. These are the large, hulking monstrosities that are fairly rare, but you're more than likely going to see at least 1 during your game. These things take 3 damage to kill, or you need to find a item that is called Dragon Bile and light it on fire, usually with a torch, which is an insta-kill for anything in that zone.
And how much damage do the Abominations do? Don't they do like 2 or 3 or something?
The Abomination does 1 damage still. However, you can find armor cards in the game. So normally what that means is if there's like a zombie in your space and they attack you, you get to roll a die. And if you roll that number or higher on your armor, you don't take any damage. The Abomination ignores that.
Right, that's what it was. I knew he had some sort of special thing where he was just like, no, I'm going to hit you anyways. Should also be noted, survivors have 3 health. So
Yes.
There's not a whole lot of health in this game. It's mostly about avoiding taking damage. It's pretty easy to kill a zombie, but it's also very easy for a zombie to kill you, especially if you get overrun.
And that was one thing that I noticed that really gave that panic-inducing feeling that might happen in a zombie apocalypse, where at the beginning of the game, you are running away from the zombies and you have plenty of space to get away. But as they keep creeping into the map, you have less and less ways to run away. Those 3 health seemed like quite a bit when you weren't getting hit. But now when you have 5 zombies around you, well, that's over, man. Like if 60% of them hit you, you're dead.
I don't know if we've mentioned the way that the map looks. Specifically in Black Plague, it's set in like a medieval type fantasy setting, and all of the maps are meant to simulate little villages or towns, and you've got roads and pathways that are outside, which is where zombies will just shamble in. And then you've got interiors of houses, and there's going to be zombies in there too. As Joe mentioned earlier, every time you open a door and see a new place, you're going to have to spawn a zombie in there. And after you spawn all of the zombies that were in the houses, they only come from the spawn points on the roads. But by the time you clear all the houses, they're going to spawn a lot more of them on the roads because you're going to be in like orange level, and you're going to be surrounded. Sometimes there's only 3 zombie spawns, but there's only 4 road exits. So they're coming from 3 of the 4, and you're just going to get yourself in a corner.
Yeah, opening the doors and clearing the rooms is another aspect of that zombie apocalypse that I like. Because like what you were saying, when you open a room and you spawn the zombies, that card might be nothing. It could be a double of something. So now you're like, oh no, there's going to be even more zombies, or could be a runner walker. So it is a surprise every single time you open the room. So if you're by yourself and you're like, I'll just open this up and I'll go in the room next, it's like, maybe not do that. Maybe wait till you have some friends nearby to help you out.
Or at least have good action economy so that way you can peek your head in and actually get out.
That reminds me of, you know exactly where this is going. Well, there was 2 times it happened.
The Legend of Earl Jamie.
Yeah, so I was playing this guy called Earl Jamie. Now, one of the mechanics in the game are vaults. Not all the time, but most of the time when you have a vault in the game, there are 2 doors linking it. Usually kind of like a shortcut option on the map. So what happened is Earl Jamie was in one of the vaults, and he's like, I'm going to poke my head up and spawn the zombies here so we know what we're dealing with, and then we'll move on. He pokes his head up. First card draws is 6 walkers, so immediately there are 6 zombies in the room.
Oh, no.
That's not the problem. The next problem is he could see into the next room.
What?
And he drew a card, and it was all walkers get an activation.
Oh, no.
So they all immediately gibbed him.
They just instantly killed him.
And then
he poked his head up and died immediately. It was horrifying.
Another game later, I'm playing this guy called Gannicus, who I really liked because he was like a melee brawler, dude. He did the exact same thing. And that guy kept saying, don't pull a Jamie. do not do a Jamie. You're gonna do a Jamie. I'm like, come on, man. It's like the end of the game. We gotta do it. And he pokes his head up. Same exact fucking thing happened.
Oh my god.
Just more walkers spawn in, it just immediately gets ate. And the thing is, even if the walkers didn't get an activation, he popped his head up and he's in a room with 6 walkers, so unless he kills a bunch of them, he can't run away. Because to move through spaces that have zombies in them, you need to use an extra action for each zombie that's in there, so it would have been impossible. Unless, of course, he had Slippery or whatever that is.
I think he had the action economy to do it. Like, I don't think I would have been that stupid to just do that the second time. It's possible I was that stupid. It
was
possible,
a while ago.
But I think he had the action economy to deal with a good chunk of zombies if needed.
Hearing that story makes me understand a little bit clearer why when I was like, hey, I'm going to go like all the way down this corner and look in this room by myself. You guys were like, why don't you don't? How about no, Scott? Like, it was so funny. You guys are so... I was like, oh, okay, I don't know how to play this game. I'm just going to listen to what you guys are saying.
I said that because I didn't want you to die and immediately hate the game.
I know, right? Because it was very close. Because I was noticing you guys were getting XP, and I didn't have any, so I was like, I'm going to go knock out this thing, get 5 for free.
I want XP too.
Yeah. Dad, give me some of that XP.
So the only other real mechanic we haven't talked about yet is the Necromancer.
Ugh.
When you draw a Necromancer card, they show up onto the board wherever they're drawn. We actually, last 3 games we played, not a single Necromancer spawned in a room, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What happens when that happens?
You put the spawn token in the room.
No.
Really?
And then the room
oh
just
my
keeps
gosh.
spawning stuff? Oh, that'd be the worst.
I think so. If not, I think
hate
it's
that.
I think it's still a fun idea. If not, where it's like there's just a pile of bodies and they just keep showing up from there.
And we can homebrew that anyways if it will be fun to do. I mean, that's what we do with.
I think you and I have definitely done that. If it's not like rules as written,
I don't remember it, but it could have happened. We haven't played physically in a very long time.
Anyways, so when the Necromancer comes in, he comes in with his own spawn token, and he brings some zombies with him. The Necromancer has interesting rules. The zombies, first and foremost, will go towards any survivor they can see. If they can't see anything, they will go to the loudest spot. Typically, the loudest spot is the area with the most characters in it, but you can also do actions to make noise, so you could like lure zombies around. It's a mechanic we don't really use that much. Like, it's there, but it hasn't been super helpful. But the Necromancer's goal is not to get to the survivors, it is to get to the nearest spawn zone. If the Necromancer gets there, the spawn zone they came in becomes a permanent spawn zone, and it's just added to the board. If it gets up to 6 spawn zones on a board, it's game over.
Wait a minute. You can get 6 additional Necromancer spawns?
No, 6 altogether.
Oh, I was about to say, dude, it was already hard with one of them. I can't imagine there being 6.
So that's the thing. So each game board spawns with like 3 or 4 spawn locations by default, and then the Necromancer brings in an extra one. If he gets to his location and completes it, it becomes complete, and it becomes permanent. And then there's 5 on the board, because if you kill the Necromancer, you get to get rid of it. Or you get to get rid of whatever spawn zone you want. And only one Necromancer can be on the board at a time. So if you draw another card and it says Necromancer, and you already have one, it just gives him an extra action.
Now, there's a slight variation to that I want to... We've never played with this, but they do sell through Kickstarter exclusives and otherwise. They have other Necromancers that you can get. They usually have like different rules and stuff. There's actually an interesting rule where if 2 Necromancers are within one zone of each other, on their next activation, they will actually cast a spell or a ritual, it says, and they will teleport out and consider it a success, and their zones become permanent.
Oh, that would suck.
That is an actual rule in the book.
I thought you were going to say they were going to like Transformers fuse together and make a mega Necromancer. make a Abomination Necromancer.
No, but that is an actual rule in the book. They function mostly the same as zombies. They die on 1 hit point. They only get 1 action each turn, but they actually have a range of 1. So if there's a survivor in their way, they will attack the survivor first, and then they can move through him. Oh, I guess one other thing we should probably mention is priority targeting. This is another important rule in the game. It's not so much important when it's melee, but when you're doing a ranged attack, there's actually a list of what gets killed or takes damage first. Necromancers are way on the bottom because basically their zombie henchmen protect them. If you shoot like a couple arrows into like a crowd and you want to hit the fatties, the problem is normally the walkers get hit due to the priority list. Another rule is if you roll an attack and you miss any of them, those hit any survivors that are in that zone, dealing damage, which is much better than the previous first edition of Zombicide, where if you fired a ranged weapon into a group of zombies and there's a survivor there, no matter what, the survivor gets hit first.
Even if it's a success.
It's real life.
Yeah.
They changed it in second edition, but that was the rules in first edition, which a lot of people hated, and I'm assuming most people homebrewed out.
It's kind of stupid.
God, that would suck so bad in real life. Though it's like, help me, I'm getting attacked. You shot me.
I'm getting attacked
With a bow and arrow, too. It's so low.
I only have this gun. I can't help you.
There's a bat on the ground. I can't equip it, though.
Your character is like an ex-SWAT team guy, and he's getting like flashbacks of not being able to shoot the target that has the bad guy with the hostage. It's like, oh, I don't know, I'm just going to shoot everything. Bang, 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 bang.
The silhouette scares him. He's like, shadows.
Before we dive into our deep experiences, just know there's so much to this game. There's so many small rules and stuff. Don't let it intimidate you if you want to try this. We mentioned Tabletop Simulator. You can get it on Steam, and they have the entire fantasy collection for free on the modding community right now. The only thing I want to say before we move on, when we played, we basically had an any character goes rule. We used characters from Green Horde. We used Kickstarter expansions, special promo characters, because they're all just so different and make the game play in many different ways. Another thing we did is we took the item cards from both Green Horde and Black Plague and mixed them together. Not only does it give you more things to play with and more variety, it's kind of a little bit more, in my opinion, more challenging when you're like, we need this item, but I've drawn like 6 swords in a row sort of thing.
So I really enjoy zombies and like zombie movies, zombie culture, zombie books, like a whole bunch of range of zombie stuff. So when we were talking about Zombicide, I was excited for it, but I wasn't really like really excited for it because I was like, oh, this is going to be like something where I'm really too overexcited for zombie stuff. And then it's just going to be a game like Clue that is zombie themed or something. I don't know. I didn't know what I was going to get into. And Joe was definitely not selling it in a way that made sense for me. He kept telling me how great it was, and he kept saying we have to play it, but it wasn't connecting with. So that first day that we played, I actually had to take a phone call, so I had to take a step back so we didn't get as much time to play. I needed to leave to go get my kids is when the zombies were really picking up. And I was like, guys, I'm getting anxious. Like, we are like getting flooded with zombies. Like, I'm panicking because there's so much happening. It was incredible. It was exactly like a zombie apocalypse would be. Like, you got to look for supplies. You got to connect with your group. You got to stay together. You got to break into doors. And also, there's a zombie horde that is coming after you. It hits everything. If you like zombies, this is definitely a game for you.
Yeah, man, it really sucks that you had to leave because I could tell how jazzed you were about it, too. After you left,
Yeah.
Joe and I just played out the rest of the scenario. I think we like jointly decided on what your characters were doing, and we played for like another 15 or 20 minutes and finished the scenario because like we were right at the end there. So
Yeah.
I feel so bad you couldn't finish it.
But I like that we then played again, and playing the second time, you know, I kind of was able to pick my character a little bit better. I also had one, what is the word I'm looking for? Custom made for myself. That you guys got me.
There is a character that is named Julian.
Yeah.
And when we set up the second game, Joe and I were just like, okay, Julian's playing as Julian.
Yeah, and so I got to play as that, and so I was a lot more excited. I was coming in with a little bit better strategy and just having so much more fun. I don't remember how that one played out, but it was It was a huge map. I think we were like, hey, what's the biggest map we can do?
No, there are bigger maps, but
Is there? Because that one was huge. Because the first one we played was pretty compact.
every game comes with like 9 double-sided tiles. I believe the final map, which is like the hardest challenge, uses all 9, if I'm correct.
Oh my god. You could have like a 3x3 map. That's huge.
But can you imagine, like, we would be in the middle of the map and not even able to call the herd because they wouldn't even get to us until there's a bunch.
Yeah, because we're not near any of the exits. Yeah. At least with the small, like 2x2 or 2x3 maps, you're never too far from the edge of the map.
Right, because even when the Necromancers are coming in, there was one point where we were all going, oh, crap, we have to kill this Necromancer because it's closer to an exit than it is to us. So we had to, like, figure a way to I don't know what we did, but if a Necromancer can... yeah, in real life. This podcast is coming from the afterlife. No, but so the Necromancer, you know, if he had a straight shot to an exit in those large maps, we just have a permanent Necromancer spot just spawning in. And those had so much more, and it sucks. They're hard.
I remember what we did the first time we played is that we kept having Necromancers spawn in on the same area.
All right.
And then when we would kill the Necromancer, we would keep his spawn and get rid of one of the other ones. So we ended up only having one location that the zombies spawned, but there were like 4 spawn tokens there. So it would just spawn 4 times as many zombies from one location.
And I swear to God, every other spawn, like zombie spawn card, was double.
Yep.
So I swear we had like double one time.
Oh, we definitely did. And then sometimes we get super lucky, though, and we'll get like the double, then it's just like Necromancer. I'm like, oh, good, he just gets to go 3 times.
Yeah.
Instead of us
I
spawning
think I'd
in
much rather have that happen.
24 zombies.
We did have the scenario where we had the Abomination and we couldn't respawn in any more Abominations. And that was kind of nice. Sometimes when that happens, you're like, oh, okay, cool. We're not getting anything right now.
He's just going to move one other space and I can live with that.
He's just coming to kill me. He's not killing me now.
And he's not calling his buddy. He's not like, hey, Butch, come over here and kill this guy.
Right? He's from New York.
We are going to have to dive into the expansions because that guy and I have played like the Zombie Bosses expansion,
Ooh.
which comes with one of our favorite Kool-Aid Man Abomination.
Oh my god, I love the Kool-Aid Man Abomination.
Is it really called that, or is
No.
it just okay?
He's an Abominator,
Oh,
and his ability, he comes with special tokens for this. He just goes through walls. He just ignores walls.
oh yeah.
Walls mean nothing to him, so he will just oh yeah, just through the wall, and you put down like a little broken wall symbol on the
No, you
on the
don't.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
And,
that's so
and then
funny.
you can use that as a door.
Oh.
Well, I mean,
That's
if he
sweet.
crashed through the wall, it makes sense that your survivor can go through the wall.
It's not just going to go away.
But then you don't have to use an action to
Exactly.
break down the door. Oh, okay. So that's I see a utility. I mean, it sounds scary, but okay.
It's pretty scary, but yeah.
Yeah.
The Kool-Aid Man
There's
Abomination.
a loads of different things. Like in the Green Horde expansion, there's one of my more favorite abominations is the Vault Warden. It's an abomination, but the only difference is that when he dies, you get a vault item.
Oh.
The vaults are like these special super legendary cards that can help really turn the game in your favor.
You could get some cool armor, a better weapon, or an awesome spell that does a lot of AoE from there. The vault items are cool, but they're not game-breakingly overpowered, in my opinion. But they're better than what you could find usually.
I believe there's only like 2 that come with the main set. We had like all the expansion stuff, so we never really knew what we were going to get. Sometimes, you get something fun like a cactus armor.
My favorite.
Ooh.
But then, like, we discovered that there's like a shotgun. It's called a bang stick instead of a boomstick.
Yeah,
And it's like-
we've never seen that before.
We've never seen it, but it's really not that good when we broke it down.
Aw.
Like the abilities and stuff, like I would rather just have like a crossbow or like a mace gun or something. That's another one of the special items.
That is something about the items that is interesting. Zombies don't drop anything, which is pretty realistic for a zombie apocalypse. But also, I found like 3 knives while I was trying to loot something. And I feel like that's pretty similar too to what you probably find, like a bunch of crappy weapons, so it does make you go, I need to keep looting to get like a full set of items, but you definitely find the same crap over and over, which I don't know, kind of adds an element of fun to it.
That's why I put all the cards together, because where you were like, I found 4 knives, daggers in a row. These are all worthless to me. But then because of that, we also were doing a map where we had to kill the Abomination. That was part of the map's objective. And we didn't have enough damage at the time. And the only way to get Dragon Bile and a torch to light it was in one of the vaults. However, due to just luck of the draw, one item out of like the 300 cards we had in there is called a Holy Orb of Death, which basically is a hand grenade.
I'm pretty sure I picked that up as Princess Leia, didn't I?
Yeah.
I love the names and the characters and the weapons in this game. It's very pop culture-esque, and it's a lot of fun.
That's the thing. So Troy is Ash Williams from Evil Dead, and then the character Gannicus, is he supposed to be like Muhammad Ali?
No, I think so, or maybe he's from Spartacus.
I don't know. Then there's like a Freddie Mercury guy named Zanzibar, and then I played as a Princess Leia type person. And so they put in character references and changed the names. I don't remember the name of Princess Leia, but
everyone knows what they are.
Yeah, yeah.
So you just start. It's easier than when we played that Clue Dungeons and Dragons, where it's like Xanathar is moving 3 steps. It's like, oh yeah, like the guy that sings for Queen is moving over here.
Exactly. There's a lot of cool bonus characters. Joe's favorite, Sir Schwartz, or technically Sir Schwarz. There's no T, but we always, have you ever heard of the last name Schwarz without the T in it?
Yeah, that's going on for the listeners. Write us in.
Yeah, I want to know.
Please, no one has written us in this entire time we've been doing the podcast. I ask for it every episode, and it hasn't happened yet.
Is your last name Schwarz?
They just keep shouting.
Let us know.
Readers out there. Readers. If you're reading this podcast, let us know.
If you're reading this podcast, please tell me how. How are you doing this?
Who transcribed
Can
it?
You see us too? I don't want that.
It's funny because the whole podcast is always scripted, like even what I'm talking about now.
No, you weren't supposed to bring that up until page 37.
Oh God. But yeah, this flip.
Let's take it from, this is Don Julian coming to you live, pre-recorded.
I like that. Maybe it is scripted.
Before I forget the tangent, I was just gonna say Sir Schwartz is the Black Knight from Monty Python.
Oh, that's right.
That's what I wanted to get at.
They have the whole like Monty Python crew too. Like I believe Schwartz was a character from.
Hey, say his name right.
Schwartz.
Thank you.
Came out with Green Horde, but before that, with the Black Plague, they had the whole expansion. They had, I can't remember any of the names, but they have King Arthur, all of the Knights of the Round Table, and Tim the Sorcerer.
Oh, Tim! Oh, goodness,
he's the only one I remember. He's Bob, but they have all of them in there. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's only like the extra characters that are references. So, like the base characters are all unique original people that they've come up with.
OC, do not steal.
Yep. And then they come out with like, they have like an Iron Man character, a Storm character, Wolverine, who's called Badger.
Oh yeah. What about him? What's his abilities?
He has regeneration stuff, doesn't he?
I think he starts off as a melee fighter and then he gets regeneration later on, because regeneration is very powerful.
Yeah. Because that's like part of like all the pop culture references is their skills as you progress are also themed with that character or whatever. Like with the Black Knight, Sir Schwartz, he can put like he can, instead of taking damage where we only have 3 health, he gets to remove an item and not take damage at all. Much like the Black Knight in Monty Python, he loses an arm, but
he takes no damage.
yeah, it's but a flesh wound.
Well, that's why I like playing as Troy so much, because his blue skill is free reloads. So the deal with bows and crossbows, Bows only shoot out one arrow, but you don't have to reload them. Shooting it is the action. With a crossbow, it shoots out 2 arrows, but you have to take an action to reload after each shot. If you play as Troy, his blue skill is free reload, so you just never have to reload a crossbow. And since you have to reload crossbows, they're usually more powerful. They made them more powerful because they have that handicap of having to reload. So you could just use a powerful weapon as Troy for free, just because he gets to have no reloads, because obviously Bruce Campbell in Evil Dead uses double-barrel shotgun, and you almost never see him reload. So how many shots you got in that thing? As many as it takes.
Yes.
Right.
One short story I'd like to share in lieu of him not being here. We did play a game with Mike, and right off the bat, so Mike plays a character, goes up, opens the door, goes into a room right next to an objective, planning to take it on his next turn. That guy goes in on his turn, following him, immediately yoinks the objective. And Mike held on to that grudge. It was a joking grudge, but it was also a real grudge the entire game.
He wouldn't let me forget it. I needed the XP, man.
But that was really funny. But yeah, it gets tense. Like, you definitely are like, you get so micromanagey with it when it's like, especially down to the wire. And it's just a board game. It's not even like the only stimulation from it is like the pieces on the board. It's not like a video game where it's like you hear the noises and you have the sounds of like sirens and stuff and like a time ticking clock. It's just like you're looking at it and you're like, if I don't roll 3 4s on 20 dice, we die.
The only sound is just dice rolling and, pieces moving around.
So in my head, what is going on is it almost feels like that tunnel vision you have when you guys, I mean, I don't know how often it's happened to you where you're in like a pretty stressful situation, maybe a car accident or like something happens. You're like, man, that was like slow-mo, but it also happened so quickly. I felt like we were in that like slow-mo-esque where it's like, I've got to be able to roll all these. I've got to be able to kick down this door, get in there, get that supply, and get out. And you're thinking about that the entire time that everyone's doing something. So by the time it's your turn, you're like, okay, guys, I'm kicking down the door. Oh, crap. I rolled a 1. Okay, I'm trying again. But if I try again now, I can't get in and get out. So you have to completely change what you were going to do.
There are some turns where you fail an action, and then instead of trying to do the same action and failing again, you would rather just end your turn because you do not have the action economy to do that. And it sucks when that happens, but that's RNG for you.
There were plenty of times where I'm like, I'm too far away to run anywhere. I'm just going to stay put. That is the best move my character can make right now. Because if I run this way, I go into the zombie horde. If I run this way, I back myself into a corner. So I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, Zombicide is a great game. There's so much we could talk about. We've talked about scenarios. We've talked about items. We've talked about characters.
What I did want to talk about too, remember what you're going to say there, but...
Your favorite expansion?
No, not the favorite expansion, but we could talk about that as well. I meant to say this earlier. Part of the reason why you need to keep the herd of zombies culled and make sure that you continue killing them and not just letting them pile up is because there is a finite number of zombies that you're allowed to have on the board. You're allowed to have like 35 walkers, 14 runners, 14 fatties. If you run out of those... Every time you're supposed to spawn another one, all of them just get an activation.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's way worse.
Yeah, it is. So you really need to keep on track or keep on top of making sure that the horde is not too large. Because if you get into orange or, God forbid, red, and then you get like a double spawn of like 6 zombies, it was so hard to put that on the board, especially on Tabletop Sim, because the spaces are not big enough for that. So I would just put 1 zombie there and I would write like a number 8 and then put the other like 7 zombies on the side just to make sure that we still had some in reserve.
Right.
It gets tense at the end there. You got to make sure that you still have zombies in reserve because you don't want surprise activations coming out of nowhere.
This is one of the few games where at the end of the game, there's a sense of like relief, like, it's over, because that buildup is just, it's slow. It's a slow burn. And then it is just just mountainous by the end of the game, and you're like, oh my god, are we? Because the second game we played, it was like, okay guys, we gotta like get to this room, we gotta be there, everyone go walk that way. And so we're like, I'm gonna stay in this building and I'm gonna circle all the way down, I'm gonna distract zombies over here, and when it's over, you're like, nice. Okay.
You weren't even part of a mission where we had to get to an exit point.
Oh, yeah, that'd be interesting, too.
There are missions where you have to do, like, 1 or 2 objectives, and then you have to get to a certain point on the board to leave. Other times, it's like, oh, once you complete the objectives, the game's over and you win. Which is, I just picture it's kind of like one of those video game things where you complete the objective and it just zooms out and then the scoreboard comes up. Like, yep, we're fine. It's good.
You just get extracted by Firebrand like in XCOM.
Yeah.
the ropes come down and you go back out.
But because it's fantasy, it's giant eagles sent by Gandalf.
Of course. Julian, when you mentioned that it just, you go up the hill and then it gets like super intense, the only thing I could think of was the old Price is Right game with the yodeling guy.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why. Because you were like, it's super
so
intense.
funny.
And then it's like, and all I could picture was, and just falls off the edge of the mountain.
That's where you get another abomination. It spawns in the freaking vault or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that was another thing. Our game was a lot of fun because, like, the very end of it, we opened up all this door and there was an abomination in the vault, and we had that holy hand grenade, and I think you just tossed it in there. So we knew that if we could get to the very final objective, it was a slam dunk. We were gonna do this. We just had to get there. Like, we can do this.
That was the gimmick of the map.
Yeah.
The abomination was in the vault, which was cool because it never spawned on the map.
Right.
That was the gimmick of the map, where you had to go into first vault to grab the bile and the torch, because that was the only bile and torch on the map. And then we got the hand grenade to cheese it. I think we would have beat it even if we didn't have the hand grenade. We were setting up a plan.
It just would have taken a bit longer.
We would have figured it out. It would have been more difficult, but it was so satisfying knowing that we could just toss the grenade in there. No one had to get hurt. It was such a nice way to end the game.
Just crack open the door. Here you go.
Yeah, suck it, noob.
So there's only 2 more things I want to talk about. One is kind of just the cool flexibility of this. Again, this is a board game, so you can always bend the rules however you want. But it's one of those board games where it really is like, feels like a video game. Like, it really does to me. With the different actions, the leveling up, just the way the game plays. You can play it by yourself even.
Just have to play 6 characters.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to play by yourself because it's cooperative. It's not like you're playing Monopoly against yourself and it's competitive or anything like that. You definitely could play it solo.
So I just wanted to throw out some like basic like home rules like we use. First and foremost, since there's no other way of healing in the game besides if you have like the regeneration skill, we've decided to homebrew that if you get a food item, which normally you can discard for free to get an experience point, you can use an action to eat it and gain a health back. Another cool thing out there is if you have the time, some of these maps take a long time. The one we played with Mike took us like 3 hours to beat it. But if you have the time to go through this, you don't have to fear of running out of scenarios. The internet like has made a bunch of stuff. The people who have made the game have made more scenarios. You're not confined to the rule book. It just shows like the cool endless possibility and this really wide community that is out there of this.
Well, that's the thing with 9 map pieces, double-sided. They're squares, so they can be positioned 4 ways and then flipped over 4 ways, and then you got 9 of them. Yeah, I don't know the math on that, but that's a lot of possibilities.
Greater than 1.
Yeah. I would not be surprised if you could do the math on that and it would be 4 digits. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more than 1,000 ways of playing that.
I mean, the replayability on this game is just ridiculous because even the first game we played, going into the second one, I was assuming it would be similar. I felt like I was playing a whole different game. It just felt so different to have different objectives, different map, different player abilities. It's pretty sweet that you get that. So at that price point at $100 for the replayability, I guess you are getting your money's worth.
And you don't even need friends to play it, as Joe said.
No, we don't, obviously.
So did either of you have anything else you want to say about Black Plague? Because the last thing I want to talk about is actually a bit of news about Zombicide, but it is not about Black Plague. So before we switch gears for the last like little stretch of this.
Was Black Plague the original? Was that the OG one?
No, the original was just Zombicide.
Oh, okay. Then,
Wasn't it set in like modern times?
Yeah, that was first edition.
Modern Warfare 2? It's a Call of Duty game, actually.
The new Call of Battlefield.
Black Plague was the first fantasy iteration of the game.
And then is Green Horde is an expansion to Black Plague, or is it its own thing?
It's a standalone / expansion.
Okay, so the answer is yes.
Yes. You can play it by itself. It has its own stuff and rules, but you can like combine it to be like big maps and stuff like that and change things up.
Okay. And then there was one that you said it's in space?
Invaders, yep.
Okay, and then is the Wild West one out yet, or is it going to be?
It's going to be.
I'm really interested in that.
As a Kickstarter backer, I'm very excited, especially when I saw the steampunk expansion. I dropped all my money into that.
Ooh.
That's pretty cool.
That's $1,000.
Not to get too excited, but 2 of the characters in the steampunk expansion are Marty McFly and Doc Brown.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
And Marty comes with a hoverboard, like a steam-powered hoverboard.
If you backed it for like $1,000, you better get put in there as your own character. Blue ability doesn't do anything.
Buys the game.
Blue ability has to play by himself because he has no friends.
Yellow ability gets 1 less action per turn.
Orange ability, lay down, cry, lay down and cry.
Try not to cry anyways. Before you get into your news, my favorite expansion, doors. So normally the doors are just little 2D cardboard type pop out things that you put on the map. However, Joe bought an actual door expansion that came with like 16 or 18 doors. He's gonna go grab it so we can look at it on the video because it's hilarious. It's in like different languages and everything.
Oh my god. Wait a minute. Hold on. I thought this was... Oh, it is for the game. No, you didn't. Oh my god. I thought that he bought something that was just toys that were doors.
Nope.
And then he slowly lifts up the box and it has the Zombicide logo on it. This is meant for it.
So what does it say? Like 18 doors or something, and then like 6 different languages. It's just like doors, puertas.
27 doors, 27 puertas, 27 portes, which is French, I'm assuming.
Portes,
27 turin, 27 porte, and 27 portas.
I would take a porta.
Sorry if I butchered your language.
One of them's Italian, one of them's German.
Puertas.
Of course, the German one is the one that's different. It doesn't start with a P. It doesn't have the same root.
And it's 18 letters. And you have to scream it.
And it sounds like it wants to hurt you.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's got a knife.
It's like if you've ever seen those videos, it's like different words in different languages. Or it's like ambulance, ambulancia, Krankenwagen.
Heart, corazón. It's like, Grandma, stop it.
Poor German. I'm sorry, German. Those are actual 3D plastic doors, and those are my favorite things because it makes it more interactable.
Yeah, those are cool.
You can open the doors.
He gets so excited when he could just sit down and assemble the doors we need.
Joe, how many doors do we need today?
This map actually doesn't call for doors. Gets up and leaves.
This map doesn't have doors.
Is this what you think of me?
It just has the Kool-Aid abomination.
And then one day you're like, I have a surprise for you. We're playing a game with doors. The whole map is doors. We're using every
That
door.
would be so challenging, but like a really fun thing where it's like you need the Abominator to like make your openings. Like
Oh.
maybe like the story idea is like the doors are like all boarded up on the inside by like the survivor.
Or like the objective that you need is in a house.
Yeah.
That is,
and you have
like
to get
that.
the Abominator to spawn, and you have to like loot. You have to like be in the right spot so it goes through the walls.
All right, so listen to this, though. the bomb minotaur doesn't spawn for like 5 or 6 rounds, and we're just sitting there with no weapons, nothing for 5 or 6 rounds.
You'd have to have like multiple ways of getting through it. Like you'd have to like make an improvised explosive or something. But if you had the Abominator, that would be another way of getting through. You'd have to give a few options, because I feel like having only one way to get through that based on random chance of spawn.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's maps where it's like you have to like, in order to get to an objective, you have to like enter the vault from one way and come out the other way.
Okay. Now you can get onto your news.
I think we're definitely going to come back to Zombicide, especially the fantasy setting. We're going to probably explore more of the DLC. It's not really DLC.
Expansions.
The expansions. So for the news, this is real short, but they just announced their next Zombicide game, which is going to be a crossover with the Marvel Zombies franchise. It looks cool. There's a small part of me hoping we get to see another Troy figure, because there is an entire comic series of Ash versus the Marvel Zombies. But are you guys familiar with the Marvel character Galactus?
I do not.
So this guy is the guy with the purple helmet?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So he is the world devourer. He is a massive being. This website I'm sending is... It is a Spanish article, but it's more for the image on it, just so you guys can get a sense of how big this thing is.
Ooh. Yeah, that's like 2 feet tall, man.
Whoa, Joe just sent us a really private picture. That thing is massive.
So they have a Galactus figure, and they just have it next to this dude, and it is like the size of his torso.
So that's going to take like at least 4 damage to kill, right?
No, just one dragon bile will do it. You don't even have to light it on fire.
That is an imposing looking figure.
Yeah, it is just this massive figure.
It says Marvel Zombies llegará a Zombicide de manos de CMON. What does this even mean?
That's the company. It's Cool Mini or Not.
Oh.
Or Come On.
I know, that's all I was thinking.
They've shown that there's going to be the superheroes that are still alive and the superheroes that have been turned to zombies. And they showed off this massive Galactus figure, which I'm very excited about. Don't know where I'm going to keep it. You know for hell I'm getting it.
Yeah, you got to find places.
You have to put a necklace, make a necklace, wear it around.
just get a baby carrier.
Oh, do you have a child? Oh, no, I have this Galactus model, just in case we need to play Zombicide right now.
Galactus, the world destroyer. I'd like to keep him with me at all times.
So that was our talk on Zombicide. So overall thoughts on Zombicide, guys. We should probably do that too as reviewers. I'm going to say it is a hefty price for the physical board game, but it's pretty cheap on Steam. Technically, right now, it is a free workshop item, but even if they made it a paid thing, they have the first Zombicide edition up on there, and that's only like $10, I think, tops. I definitely love the game, so definitely try it out, even if you can only try it out digitally.
Yeah, the game is definitely an incredibly fun game to play, especially if you're into zombies. And if you don't mind games that take a little bit longer to play, or if you really enjoy that, this is going to definitely be the game for you. The price is very intimidating, and because I have friends that have the games, I don't have to pay that price. But on my own, I would be weary to spend $100 on a game.
Swell out of 10. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I can't add anything more to what's already been said. I feel like I have a very similar opinion to Julian on this matter. I've not spent a cent on the game, but that's because Joe has. He spent a lot of cents on the game.
I spent so much money to get the Troy figures.
And then didn't you have them like professionally painted too?
Yes.
I remember you had us all over one time and we painted zombies.
That was fun.
That was super fun because we didn't have to be like, we don't have to be professional painters to paint zombies. We just kind of slapped paint on them and made them look zombie-like.
But you guys are professional painters, so it just happened to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dual rule.
Sistine Chapel, that was me.
Yep.
I think that this is a good investment for, I don't know if schools still have like, nerd club or whatever that I was in. But I mean, if you happen to be in a school club that meets after school and plays board games, obviously it takes a long time to complete this board game, but everybody's got a phone with a camera in it, so you just play an hour of the board game, then take a picture of it, and then set it back up next time. I think this would be a cool thing, and it would last a long time, because there's a lot of people in clubs, and you could play with, I think, up to 8 characters, or 9.
So the obvious main limitation is the base game only comes with 6.
Right.
But there are rules.
But still, that's 6.
Yeah.
That's quite a few people.
It is. And the rules do have, like, what to do with more people. I believe it is just add more spawn zones.
Right.
And to add more people and to add more characters, I mean, you could find character sheets online and then just put a penny on the board. You know, like, I don't feel like a lot of what is available in the game is necessary, but it adds so much flavor and it makes sense why it's at that price point.
It's quality stuff.
Yeah, it really is. I think you're going to get your money's worth. I don't want to say that. I just don't have the money to do that.
You just don't have the worth for the money.
Pretty much. No, I just have children that are eating my everything about me. They consume everything.
Billy, stop eating the lamp.
It's not food. It's not food. I told you again.
Put down the dog. Put down the dog.
It's the third one this week.
Julian, anything to plug?
Nope. Not plugging anything this week. Can't make me. Can't force me. Not doing it.
That guy, anything to plug?
I have a Twitter you can follow at SirSoenjay, SirSoenjay. And from there, I think that links to my YouTube as well. Not that I do much there, but I make videos sometimes.
Cool. You can, of course, tweet at me at DM Joe Thunder. I will respond if you do, but primarily on that page is me just retweeting G Fuel ads to get free G Fuel, which has yet to happen. G Fuel, help me out, man. I keep buying your shit.
Don't you get free G Fuel anyways?
Cut that. We don't need to talk about that on here.
I was about to say, like, are we like, is this a sponsor, like, in secret? Because we bring up how we do stuff with G Fuel a lot.
I just think it's funny to tell people what they're in for when they follow my Twitter. They're just going to see G Fuel. That's what it eats.
Joe may or may not be the CEO of G Fuel, and I will say this: I've never seen Joe and the CEO of G Fuel in the same room.
More importantly, you can follow the podcast itself at Tabletop Team Pod on Twitter. You can email the show, the Tabletop Team Podcast at gmail.com. Please send us your questions, comments, topics, suggestions, because good Lord, we need them. And I think that's it. I'm tired.
I'll tell you, I can't believe we went so long. That's what she said. Because I was like looking at the clock around like the 30 or 45 minute mark. I was like, well, are we wrapping up or are we just getting started? You know, because like we had like said so much information, you know, another fucking hour later. we're like, all right, let's get this thing over.
The answer was yes. Welcome to the Tabletop Team.